Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Thank you for your service. I'm increasingly concerned that China is gaining access to American secrets using non-traditional, all-of-nation approaches to conduct espionage against our allies. Chinese company Huawei has maneuvered itself into a dominant position providing communication infrastructure across the globe, including to major allies like Canada. For each of the witnesses, can you assess the risks presented by such practices, especially as they relate to Huawei?
So thank you for the question. So when it comes to Huawei specifically, but Chinese technology companies, we kind of break things down in terms of hardware, gear, things like that, but also information access. So the challenge is obviously broader than Huawei, ZTE. It also would include China Mobile, China Telecom, China Unicom, who has access to the data, and then how do they access that data? I would say that, globally, when you think about the exposure that China has, it's Huawei and like companies, it is fairly broad. There is an awakening, though, and I wouldn't take away from the fact that a company in a country has done a deal with Huawei as that country accepting the risk of working with Huawei. I think the risk tolerance needle is shifting. Here, Section 889 in the National Defense Authorization Act, which deals with Huawei and others, I think is a positive step forward in progress beyond the work we've already done. As we shift into 5G, it is important that we communicate the risks associated with advancing technology with our technology companies through, as we've talked about, with our Five Eyes partners. I think we do have an increasing common understanding of those risks looking forward. But yes, there's work to be done here.
The Chinese government does not share our government's values. And to me, a great example of that is their cybersecurity laws that they've enacted over the last few years, which provides their government access to user data from any of their telecommunications or cyber companies when they want it, whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want with that. They basically can exploit that data however they want. With Huawei's let's call it growing position globally and other telecommunications, we have to understand that then means the data, the user data that those companies possess can be utilized by the Chinese government, again, in whatever manner possible. And to me, that's just extremely worrisome. I'll leave it at that.
Let me raise a related issue, which is I've spoken a number of times to leadership of a major research institution in Texas that is facing ongoing challenges of Chinese espionage, and in particular Chinese nationals being paid by the Chinese government, working at that institution, working on sensitive research projects, and then they suddenly discover projects that they are in the midst of working. Companies out of China are filing U.S. patent applications and seeking to get U.S. intellectual property in the midst of the research. How widespread is this problem? Is the threat of industrial espionage, theft of intellectual property by Chinese nationals working here in the United States? And what are we doing about it? What should we be doing about it?
Sir, I can't quantify for you, I wish I could, the level of the threat. But what I can tell you is this. I am waiting for the time that somebody who reports to me comes into my office and says, we have concerns about some activity here relating to China, in which, again, they might be up to, or might be engaged in for nefarious purposes. They'll ask my permission to go take a look. We then go take a look. I am waiting for the time that they come back and say, it wasn't there, we didn't find it. We looked and it didn't exist. Every rock we turn over, every time we look for it, it's not only there, it's worse than we anticipated.
And give us an order of magnitude. How widespread are these complaints? Are we talking a handful? Are we talking dozens? Are we talking hundreds? What's the breadth of complaints and investigations you're seeing in these issues?
Just say extremely voluminous.
Hundreds? Thousands? Judge, I just want to get an order of magnitude in terms of how broad this challenge is.
Thousands.
Thousands. Okay, thank you.